The state first witness in the Senzo Meyiwa Murder Trial, Police Sergeant Thabo Mosia, will be back on the stand when the case resumes in the High Court in Pretoria today. Mosia has described what he found on this crime scene when he arrived about 20 minutes after midnight on the 26th of October in 2014. He told the court that they found a bullet case, a hat and a walking stick in the kitchen as they were combing the scene. Meyiwa was killed at his then-girlfriend Kelly Khumalo's mother's home in Vosloorus, east of Johannesburg, during an alleged robbery. For more on this, let's bring in our reporter Hasina Gori. You've been following this court process. What can we expect today, Hasina?
Good morning, Desra. We're back here for day 3 of the first witness, Sergeant Thabo Mosia. He's a forensic officer, one of the first of the forensic team that arrived at that scene on the 27th of October. He arrived 4 hours after it's alleged the actual incident took place, and he's been, giving evidence in chief and then been cross-examined by Advocate Thabo, which is the defense lawyer for accused 1 to 4, including the person who's alleged to have been the trigger person in this matter, that is accused number 3, Pinsing Ngube. So he's been asking questions relating to that body of evidence that was collected. As you mentioned, some of the evidence that he collected, the physical evidence, was that bullet fragment as well as the hat and the walking stick. And what he's really been trying to do is find out whether or not the processes that were done were put into place. And firstly, he asked why it took so long, for him, and whether he believes that 4 hours after the incident, when he arrived, was that scene not tampered with before. According to Sergeant Mosia, he believes that, this was not the case, that those in the home were more concerned with ensuring that the victim was taken to hospital after that shot was felt, a shot, and more concerned with saving his life than with clearing out the scene. However, he questions, Advocate Thabo has questioned Sergeant Mosia on where was the casing of the bullet, because if a revolver was used, there should have been a casing at the scene, and if it was not there, could the scene have been cleaned out, or whether or not a different firearm was used, example, a revolver. And that was a question where we ended the last sitting on a Tuesday, and this was the judge telling the Sergeant Mosia that he will explain the difference today when he comes back in. But Sergeant Mosia really saying that he believes that from what he saw when he entered the home on that evening, with the hat being on the floor as well as the walking stick, that he believes that the scene was not tampered with, that it was left as it was. There was also cans of alcohol at the scene, so he said it was not really cleaned out by anyone, despite some remarks or concerns that it may have been, given the length of time, asking whether or not he was brought to the scene at the appropriate time, and whether or not the scene was even reported, or the incident even reported timeously. So these were questions that he was asked. But also with regards to that checkered hat, it was alleged that the hat was belonging to the suspect, accused number 3, when he entered the home, and a scuffle took place, and that was what was left behind. But Advocate Thabo, during cross-examination, said that the DNA results showed that the DNA was from a woman, and accused number 3 is a male, so that shows that it may not have been his hat that was left behind at the scene. Also alleging that the walking stick may have had some DNA, because according to information that Advocate Thabo has, the walking stick was used in the scuffle and may have had DNA of the intruder on it, and could have assisted in the case. So these were just some of the questions that were brought, and we've heard these cross-examinations that Sergeant Mosia has been put under in the last day. We expect today for it to continue, with Advocate Thabo saying that he needs about an hour at most to conclude his cross-examination this morning before we hear from Advocate Mshololo for accused number 5, then giving in, coming in and also cross-examining. But this morning we're seeing the 5 accused have already arrived in court. At least 3 of them have arrived so far. We can see Advocate Thabo there consulting with his client. We are in courtroom GB here at the North Gauteng High Court, quite heavily guarded, a lot of police officers as well as heavily armed, police officers here in this courtroom here, as proceedings are expected to begin in a little bit. That's it for me for now. Back to you in studio, Desiree.